What's up guys, it's your boy Ty, and today we are going to be starting a new anime review series where I review anime. I do want to say that since this is a anime review series, I will only be looking at the anime for these series unless I have any manga input or light novel input. Also, if you have not figured it out yet, there will be spoilers involved in all of these reviews, so you have been warned. So let's get into the review. The first review is going to be on Chrome-shelled regios. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I am going to try to pronounce all this stuff as best as I can, but just be prepared to hear me mispronounce all this stuff. In this series, it showcases a world where the world has been taken over by monsters called contaminants. These things are basically big monsters that have some resemblance to bugs who just want to eat people. We are not really given a reason why they want to eat people. We just know that they want to eat people. I'm assuming just to survive, and we don't know how they got there either. It doesn't explain that if they have always been there or if they just got there, or it doesn't really talk about that. We don't get a lot of backstory into what happened before the story that we are seeing. Now, in order to fight these things, humans have been born with a power called Ki. I thought it was Kai, but it's with an E and not an A. And with the Ki, they made weapons called daites, which could be swords, lances, guns, snipers, pistols, any type of weapon. I don't think there is a limit, but we haven't seen everything. We never saw a scythe or anything like that, so I assume it could be made out of anything, but we don't know. These powers aren't enough though, because they had to live in big mobile cities that are called regios, or the name of the title, okay, basically. The things that allow the city to move are spirits or a spirit, because we have only seen one. In fact, the cities are named after the spirit that controls it. The story follows our main character, Leifon Elsif, who is a badass who refuses to use his power. Like, we haven't seen that before. I know that was a little rude, but we have seen it multiple times. I know it's impossible to come up with a new main character, but I feel like it's used a lot. And not only that, but the reason he doesn't use it is kind of retarded. And let's be honest, we all had some power that put us above everyone else, that we were, we're just badasses. We would be flexing it. We weren't sitting here trying to hide it. I do like him as a character, but like I said, if any of us had that power, we'd be flexing on anybody. What makes me mad though is he even gets 2 swords, which I thought he was about to go Kirito's sword burst stream. If you haven't seen Sword Art Online, you should go watch it. I know I'm about to get a lot of hate for saying go watch Sword Art Online. Alright, never mind, forget that. But the swords actually fuse to form a quote-unquote better sword, and just to give it to someone else. And no, I'm not joking about that. He literally gives the sword back. Okay, so what happened, if you haven't seen it, like I said, the spoilers, but so if you did see it, you know what I'm talking about. The holy sword flies to him, and I don't know, I thought it was his sister for a while, but it's not, because he was an orphan. So is it his girlfriend? I'm not sure. The show looks like it wants to add romance, but it doesn't. It kind of does, but it doesn't. But anyway, he gets 2 swords, then they fuse to become a, like I said, quote-unquote better sword. But anyway, since we were on the topic of characters, let's talk about them. The story doesn't just follow Leifon, who is the main character or the main focus. It also follows his platoon. It's called a platoon, but it's more like a squad. I just say a squad. And the platoon/squad is being, I guess, controlled, quote unquote. Would you say controlled? Okay, anyways, the captain of the squad is Nina Ontalk. I like having multiple characters, honestly, in a story to look at and to see develop, but when you don't have the time, I don't understand why you would do that. Because this series does only have 1 season, and it is 24 episodes, but the number of characters that it shows us from the beginning, I just don't understand why. It should have just focused on a couple other characters. Like I said, so we are just we are shown these characters from the beginning, so to speak, but we don't see what happened before the story. I think the main problem with the anime, in my opinion, is that it focuses too much on what's happening. It doesn't show us a lot of the past and a lot of what happened before what we're seeing. We see like a couple of glimpses, but when we do, there's no like warning, or there's no like something that's showing us that they're glimpses, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of hard to show when we're getting a glimpse or not, and when we are getting a glimpse, it's not something crazy. It's just something that like you can make an inference on. You can be like, oh yeah, that happened, or it's not even important to the story. It just shows it just to show it. So, like I said, we have a lot of characters. We only see a couple like glimpses of what happened, or told about what happened for a couple of the characters, but that was only to introduce more characters. So whenever they really showed a past, like what happened in the past, it was only to introduce another character. Like, yeah, this happened in the past, but the reason that this happened in the past because this character was here. Now here's this character. You know what I'm saying? And this because of this, it leads to a lot of holes in the story, like why characters do certain things that they do, and why characters act a certain way they are. Like, for example, Nina, who is the captain of the 17th platoon, which is the platoon that the story follows. She seems like she wants to protect the city more than others. Like, she's even stated that the spirit of the city is like so close to her because of her will, I guess you could say, or how much she wants to protect the city. But it is, they never tell us why. Like, you would think, oh, like maybe like her parents died protecting the city or something like that. But no, we don't even get any backstory on that. Then for the student council president, how did he rise to power, and why is a student council president in control of the city? Which it always didn't make sense to me, is that a student council president controls the whole city, and the cities in the show are, like, I guess, labeled off. So the story that we see is a academic city. Then there's cities who focus on militaristic things and economy. But, well, first of all, why are the cities like labeled off as that? Because they don't all like work together, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, they all fight the contaminants, but they're not all like in unison and all like communicating, all helping each other. And it kinda doesn't make sense. Like, they even have big fights to fight over who gets what. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense. The characters, I'm not saying that the characters are bad, I just wish that we had more of a backstory on why and how certain things happen, or why they do what they do. Also, who the hell is this guy? He appears multiple times, but we never get an explanation for him. This guy literally shows up out of nowhere, and he's like this powerful guy, and we don't really get told on who he is. All we well, not all we kind of, but he has something to do with the other world that was like mentioned, but wasn't like, it's a main point of the story. It's a main point of the story, but it wasn't like focused on. Like, they barely talk about it. Okay, so since I mentioned the story, now let me hop into the story. The story has a few holes, but I do think that it was a good story with a decent ending. It doesn't have a second season, as I said, so we are missing a few answers for some of our questions that we are stuck wondering, like, who the hell are these guys? Let me tell you, these guys look creepy. When I first saw these scenes, I was like, I thought I like switched animes or something. I was like, wait, why is this happening? Like, in Clanad, when they did these scenes, it would either be at the beginning or the end. But these scenes, just random. You would be watching the anime and next thing you know, boom, cuts to this, and you're just like, hello? Wait, what happened? I honestly thought I switched animes, or I was on the wrong anime. Then, like, we get a explanation, kinda, on who they are, and why we keep seeing these weird scenes, which I think were placed random, and had me wondering why they are even in the series. Like I said, we got an answer, but it was half-assed, and for such an important part too. Apparently, these guys are from another world that controls the one we see in the series, which made no sense. I don't think it was needed, and kind of ruined the show, in my opinion. Also, in my opinion, also, did these random scenes remind anyone else of the random scenes from Clanad, but more creepy? And I'm not joking. Do they remind anyone else of the scenes from Clan just add like a creepy tone to it? And the scenes from Clan like no, they weren't talked about either, and like they weren't fully explained. But like you could kind of like reference, like you had to think about it. Like you would be like, oh, now it makes sense. And when you listen to the story, it all made sense, and it was mentioned throughout the story multiple times. We don't get a any type of explanation about these guys until like the end, and it's like maybe like 15 or 20 seconds of what they are, or what they mean, and for such an important part that honestly makes no sense to me. I just wish that they had more explanation on that. But anyway, besides the creepy scenes and the creepy people, by the way, that girl looks really creepy. Besides the missing points of the story, which I'm going to assume is due to lack of time, like I said, they only have one season, and yeah, I just don't think they had a lot of time to work with. That's why they didn't. That's why they didn't explain everything. The story was still enjoyable in some aspects and had a decent ending. The ending, like I said, it's an ending, okay? It gives you an ending. It showcases what happened, but I do feel like there are still some missing questions or some missing plot holes, which stop it from being a good ending. So it's a decent ending. It's not trash where they don't answer anything, but it's still like, eh. Now, let's go into the music. Honestly, I don't have a lot to say for the music. I'm just gonna be honest. It really wasn't in the anime a lot besides the opening and closing, obviously. But when it was added, it did fit the scenes that it was played in. The music wasn't trash to the point where I skipped them, but it isn't something I'm going to listen to outside of the series. And that's just being honest. Like the music was okay. Like I said, it wasn't really added in the series. Like I didn't hear a lot of the music, and when it was added, it did sound good and it did fit the scene. It wasn't like, oh, like a sad scene and it was sitting here pumping like metal rock. You know, it fit the scene, but it just wasn't enough. I just feel like there was a lot of more places that they could have added, which would have made a scene either more emotional or more badass. But you know, they just skipped over that. So with all these points being said, I give the anime a 7 out of 10 lolly thumbs up. I do think you should give it a shot, and you may find something you will really enjoy in it, or at least you could say I've watched it. My next review will be on Tenchi Muyo War on Jamar. Sorry again, like I said in all these reviews, I would try to pronounce them the best way I can. So thank you guys for watching. It's your boy Ty, and I'm out. Peace.